I realized how complex building a company is. There's absolutely no right answer. And this is one of those things that you can really go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for multiple days on what you want to do. But every time when I try to consolidate engineering into working on fewer products, I literally went back to the same 6 products because I still, till this day, absolutely believe that those 6 products will come together really well. Hello everyone, by way of introduction, I'm a YC-backed startup founder. And over the course of last 4 years, we have built 7 products in the company, out of which only one of them is gaining significant revenue. But the other 6 of which make up less than 3% of the total revenue. Is that a success, or do I consider that as a failure? Well, if you are a startup founder and you are looking to go multi-product, and this might be a good video for you. A little bit about a history. We started in 2021 and we built our very first product. And that product is in the single digits millions of ARR. And over the course of last 3 years, we end up building 6 more products for a total of 7. The first product is basically investor management software. Think of it as the Carta for real estate private equity firms. So we built that, make up 97% of our revenue. And then we built 6 more products that all with the aim of serving real estate general partners. So one is CRM, underwriting, fund administration, banking, a marketplace, and property management, plus the investor management software. And we have like 2 or 3 more products to build. Out of all of them, only one makes up like 97% of our revenue. So you can look at it a couple ways. One is like, why did you waste your time building 7 products, one of which there's only one thing that actually works in your company? You have 6 flops and 1 success. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is it takes every product 2 or 3 years to actually get built and get mature. And we have customers and we have people using it and iterating upon it. And they are all about to burst into the scene. So we are very optimistic about the growth going forward as a result. So this video is going to talk about why I made the decision, how the decision, looking back at it, whether that's right or wrong, and what are some of the hidden challenges. I'm not gonna go over the basics. I'm gonna go over on the challenges and the pros that people don't really think about. By the way, for this video, I'm not gonna list the pros and cons always in the same order. So I'm not gonna list all the pros and all the cons. I'll list some pros and some cons, and then later on, I will keep going back and forth on the pros and cons because every fact or every philosophy has its opposite side. Okay, let's go down on the pros. The pro, one of the things that is maybe not really talked about in the startup books is the reason I did that was more that it uses my skill set. I'm a builder. I was an engineer manager and I have a good sense of product. I'm also a solo founder. So based on that combination, the only thing I was good at is building products. So I basically went all in. It's the equivalent of, say, Mark Zuckerberg, who had no idea about sales and marketing and so on. And they just kept building, I think they built like a dating matching for college students. They built like a directory and then like a course, rate my professor equivalent of a website. And if you combine all 3 of them, it becomes Facebook. So instead of compensating for my weakness, I went further with my strength. And so that is the justification of why I did it that way. The other pro is that once it works really well because our value proposition is that we are the entire back office operating system for real estate investors. So if you are a startup founder and you might be creating another all-in-one solution for other folks. So in the long run, this is why Microsoft is able to basically slow down Slack's growth because when they introduce Teams, they're like, this is part of my enterprise bundle, take it or leave it. And similarly, that's how they take AWS. And by saying that Azure is, if you're using the Microsoft suite, you can add Azure at a much cheaper price and it's already offered. That's the same approach being taken by other all-in-one solutions such as Epic Systems or MyChart, which is I am everything for the hospitals. So we want to create an all-in-one solution for real estate. Anything about real estate. Right now, it's just private equity investment firms. But in the future, if you are a landlord with 25 units, well, be sure that we help you do your leasing, your property management software, your transfer of money, i.e. banking, your CRM, you raising money, your maintenance requests, AI agents just like replying on your behalf, and also anything that has to do with accounting, reconciliation, and also filing your taxes. So that is our future, and that is something I knew that we were gonna go into. So if it works really, really well. That was the vision anyway, and so that's the pro. The other pro, which is a very significant pro, and that pro, by the way, I'll put the pro toward the end, okay? Because that is the finalized pro. Let's talk about the cons. The cons are also significant. The biggest con that I have realized in the last 4 years of building is that I never really brought the team with me. Even though I say this is, all-in-one solution, even though they are all optimistic about the future, team wants to see momentum. So a approach taken by Lattice, Lattice, they are building a performance base for large companies. And then they add some more HR stuff and so on. But their way of building is build one product per year. So every 2 years, they build a product. And then once they have a significant revenue, then they build 2 products a year. Whereas me, build 6 products in like 3 years, and none of which is like successful at all, besides one. So I never brought the team with me, and team wants to see success. Team wants to see some form of like revenue going steadily up. My counterpoint to that is life doesn't work that way. Life, a lot of times, just you build for 3 years with nothing, and then it goes up. The problem is if the revenue doesn't justify the means, I'm pushing the boulder uphill at all times. So the last 4 years have been, I will say, like the hardest 3-4 years of the business. Thankfully, there's one product that's doing well, which is our very first product. If that product also doesn't do well, then we are like pretty much screwed. But you can argue that if the first product doesn't do well, then I will not have built the next 6 products. So I didn't bring the team along. And more, I realized that is really important to bring the team along. And that is made even more clear. Recently, we had a very successful go-to-market plan by leveraging the advice of a go-to-market advisor and also doing some trusted network marketing. And for the first time in like 3 years, we have more demos than ever before. And I'm like, well, we've been building for 3 years. Why do we have demos now? Like they don't book a demo because like they heard this new product was so good. They just booked the demo because the message on the landing page. So it was just a product. It's market messaging fit as opposed to product market fit. It's just product messaging fit. We know people want that. And to the extent that have we built the best product to serve that market, I don't know. I think we do. So what that means is that for the last 4 years, I did not focus on go-to-market. And I diminished the importance of go-to-market. If there's one mistake, it's that. Like I did not think about go-to-market that well. And that is our number one mistake. And that we kind of pay for it by having very, very slow growth in all the 6 products. And our engineers were just like, we keep building this thing and nothing is really happening. What's going on? We're making that strategy pivot or more of a culture pivot. The con is that technically on my very first product, we also built for 2 years with basically no traction. But because it's not only one product, I did quite a bit of customer demos and just like learn at a much faster rate. Even on the first product, I built the things in the wrong order. Basically, I built the thing that people need later in their customer journey first. And I built the thing they need first later. So it means the first 2 years were horrible, even with the first product. The good news is once they become a customer, we have substance. We don't have any missing holes post-acquisition. They were like, oh, I signed up for this one thing. But after I use this one thing, I need this other thing. And thankfully, you built it. If you didn't build it, I'm going to churn. So you could argue that by this strategy wins in the long run because we end up with happy customers. And that is a reframe almost through my entire professional career, which is I never thought the product was good enough. So I always postpone this big marketing launch. And there's a part of me that wonders if there's a way to do a little bit more marketing and maybe the customers were churning left and right, were not that excited, but we build some momentum and on the traction of the product to give the team a little bit more hope. The problem I can also see with that is if we sign up with a customer and they churn 3 weeks later every single time for the first 3 years, I think that also will demoralize the team. So go to market, I think it has a lot of impact on the morale of the team, the momentum of the team. That is something I miss. If you were go a step further, I don't regret it that much because I was never good at it. And so it's almost like I keep postponing this one weakness of mine indefinitely until recently, a very young member of the team did a great job on marketing. And I was like, oh, interesting. It took an early 23-year-old to convince me that I was doing it wrong the whole time. With all things, it's not irreversible. As I mentioned, the good news is that once we picked it up, we have substance. We can sustain even an influx of customers. Which one is right? I have no freaking idea. I see a lot of LinkedIn posts that post about certain things, and I'm just yo, you are doing Wizard of Oz thing. I know what you're doing. You have no product. You just have a lot of marketing and you're building as you go. And then I'm kudos to you. You are genius because that is another way of building. And I credit that. There's nothing wrong. This is just another way of doing, and they have a lot of fans and they have good customer feedback. They bring the customers along. It's very, very interesting. I don't know what's the right way to build it. I do know what we have done, and it has a lot of painful steps of plateauing, low momentum, feeling like we are always pushing the boulder uphill until it hits. And when it hits, we hope that it will be awesome, but it's almost 3 years later, that day still hasn't come. Let's go back to the calm. So if you build one product, let's do a simple experiment. Let's say you have 12 engineers. You can divide it into 4 products, 3 engineers of each. And so you build that for 3 years, that's end up with 6 or 7 products. Or you can say, I'm gonna put 1 product every year. And then over the course of 4 years, you actually end up building a pretty good product. Which one is right? Which one is more beneficial? We took the approach of 6 products, 2 engineers each, literally building it for 3 years, and nothing really happens because we are just treading on the treadmill at all times. It's almost like you are walking on the treadmill, and it's gonna take you forever, decades to build a really good product because you only have 2 engineers on each product. But in my counter argument, and this is the naivete back then, is the bottleneck is not exactly the engineering. The bottleneck is figuring out what the customers really want. So the sooner we start it, the sooner we give something to the customers, the sooner we learn about what they say is important, what they say is not important. And so I do end up getting quite a bit of feedback from the customers. So I will say that is a pro. Let me go back on the ultimate conclusion that I have. The biggest pro of our approach is the following. It is because we have so much potential energy by building this portfolio of products, of which I believe are absolutely necessary for our end user. So it's not like we're building some crap. It's not like we are building things that are not related. We're absolutely building something that are related. The pro is that as long as we are profitable and as long as we don't run out of money, we will eventually get to a place where all of it makes sense, where all of it just combine to create a 1 + 1 = 3 product. That has been unchanged in my heart of hearts. The one in which I did not calculate correctly is how long that took. So for example, if you have 12 engineers, 2 of which working on each product, as an example, we're not doing that, but 12 engineers, 2 of which working on 6 products simultaneously, it will take us maybe call it 6 years to get to a point that all of them are really good, because you have 2 engineers working for 6 years. It's the equivalent of, say, 4 engineers working for 3 years, or the equivalent of saying 8 engineers for maybe working for 1.5 years. So you can do it one of 2 ways. And so we end up choosing the parallel path. And overall, it's gonna take them many hours. It's just that with more products, technically me being the solo founder is busier because I get to talk to more customers about all kinds of different things. It's definitely more tiring for me, but I think ultimately I'm able to learn it more quickly as opposed to try to compress the learning down to that a year and a half. I hope that makes sense. These are all the real decisions that you get to make as a founder one day if you become an entrepreneur. I don't necessarily think that we are successful by choosing this way, but I do have this epiphany that I can reduce our strategy down to this sentence. As long as we are profitable, this is the better strategy, because once it clicks in like an avalanche. I hope that's true. And maybe that day never comes. Even my YC partner sat down with me one day and they say, Perry, there are two types of founders. There are the second-time founders and then there's first-time founders. The first-time founders, they just put one foot in front of the other and they don't know any better. They just build one and then layer on top of it, build another thing. They took the approach of lattice, which is like, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm just going to build one thing at a time. And it turned out that they are more successful on average. And then there are the second-time founders. They travel the maze so many times. They know exactly what's the end state, and they paralyze multiple efforts to achieve the end state. And it turned out sometimes the naive first-time founder executes better than the second-time founder that has the vision of how it all comes together, but it's harder than you think. In my case, I am a first-time founder that chose the path of the second-time founder. And this is one of those times in which I said, I still think I'm right. The differences may not be that big. And it's only really because I'm not that good with go-to-market. And between learning go-to-market in my early days versus learning on how the product all comes together, I chose learning how the products all come together. As you can see, I not always follow the advice of my YC partner. And to be clear, there are multiple YC partners. And if you take this nuanced problem to them, they could have multiple opinions. So as you can see, you don't always take the advice of your YC partners, nor do YC partners want you to take their advice, because they know very well that you know what's best for your company. And what they say is what is theoretically true in what they imagine and what they observe. They are doing pattern matching, but you are still living your life and you still know your business and in and out. As I thought through this, I realized how complex building a company is. There's absolutely no right answer. And this is one of those things that you can really go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for multiple days on what you want to do. But every time when I try to consolidate engineering into working on fewer products, I literally went back to the same 6 products, technically 6 or 7. We definitely punt the 7th one. There's one of them we punt, but I always went back to building 6 products at a time because I still, till this day, absolutely believe that those 6 products will come together really well. You can argue, am I just being stubborn? Or is it that every single time when I don't do it and I feel this urge that something is not right, that I go back to it, it means that I really do have the right hunch. Are you based on theory or are you based on this very, very deep intuition, grounded in facts and grounded in what I observe to be the sentiment of our customer, and of which I am a customer because I'm building something for myself? What signals do I listen to? And ultimately, I listen to, if I were the customer, I want all 7 of those products. And I want all of those 7 products, ranging from starting with underwriting my property to CRM to market my property, to a sales CRM that can track my activities, to raising money, to the transfer of money, which is banking, to asset managing my property, which is asset management and property management, and then finally to updating my investors between my projected pro forma and my actuals. Like, it all makes sense. And I'm just like, that vision, this is how I execute it. I don't know. I still don't know if it's right. I still don't know. And the end result is 3 years later, we built the first product for the first couple of years. And then now it's like technically for the last 3 years, the first product is doing really well. So 3 years later, since we started the first product, we end up with 7 products, out of which only 1 is successful, and they dominate 97% of our revenue. You could argue the future is bright because we've been building the other 6 for the last 3 years. And so it's about time they come out. We plant the seed. It's about time that they blossom. And maybe a year from now, this video aged very well. Or that a year from now, we somehow don't have the liquidity to continue. And that's how I come up with the conclusion that as long as we can survive, this strategy works. And so the only thing I need from the first product is that it grows sufficiently fast that it allows all the other products to continue getting developed and continue to get better. And I also know we are very good at building products, and the quality of the product is going to be really good, which it is, and that it's just a matter of time. So I went through this simulation. This is something I think about every single day. Usually after multiple simulations, I have just one sentence conclusion, which is what we're doing is correct. And it takes time to see either the genius or the foolishness of it. I also acknowledge the foolishness and the difficulty of this choice, but the pros outweigh the cons, and time will tell if we are right. This is pretty good that I'm actually sharing with a large audience and some of the nuanced strategies of running a business. And I hope you enjoy this kind of videos. I probably do a better job of formulating it, and this is all my stream of consciousness thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this kind of video is helpful to you as a founder. So have a good day. Bye-bye.